Welcome back to the Cossy Arsenal channel. My name is Cossy. Welcome back to a brand new video. Arsenal are rebuilding their attack this summer, and Mikel Arteta and Andre Bata are willing to spend above 200 million in order to do that. Now, Mikel Arteta wants a left winger, a centre forward, and now we have added an attacking midfielder. That means that Arsenal could sign 3 main attackers this summer, and that could cost about 200 million. So in this video, what players are Arsenal looking at to spend the 200 million on? Do they take Arsenal to the next level? After spending 200 million, you must be able to challenge vigorously for the UEFA Champions League and the Premier League. Manchester City have done that before and they've been able to challenge. Liverpool have done that before and they've been able to challenge and win all those trophies. It is time for Arsenal to shine. But this is why we signed Andre Bata, to elevate our attack. He's one of the best guys in the game when it comes to signing forward players. We've talked about his track record at Atletico Madrid, the likes of Antoine Griezmann, the likes of Diego Costa, the likes of a couple of other players, Alvarez, and so many players that he has signed for Atletico Madrid in attack, and they have been absolute big successes at the club. So at Arsenal, his first job, sign 3 players that can elevate the Arsenal attack and make sure that Arsenal can challenge for big silverware. That is why we're discussing in this video. And I think the biggest task for Andre Bata and Mikel Arteta this summer is to make sure that we define a different attacking identity that is not Bukayo Saka. If Arsenal don't have Bukayo Saka, what do we do? I'll give you a very simple example. If Brighton don't have Mitoma, they can successfully rely. João Pedro is gone now, but they used to successfully rely on João Pedro and the likes of Adingra and the likes of Yankuba Minte, and this team, survived. When you look at Bournemouth, when they lost Solanke, they signed Evan Nielsen, and then all of a sudden, Semenyo stepped up. It's the same with Liverpool. If they don't have Salah, there is someone like a Luis Diaz, like a Jota that always steps up. For Arsenal, without Saka, no one steps up. In fact, without Saka, everyone drowns and everyone's quality becomes a mess. That is what Arsenal are trying to fix this summer by signing 3 main attackers for about 200 million or even more than that. Now, the first signing is going to be a centre forward, and Arsenal are still deliberating and they're still deciding, what do we do with a centre forward? Now, what I understand about the centre forward situation, like I've always reported, is there are 2 players here, and both of them are very strong options. Andre Bata, obviously, is a big fan of Victor Yarez, and Mikel Arteta, on the other hand, is a big fan of Benjamin Sesko on your screen. But if you ask me, one of the reasons as to why Arsenal don't sign a centre forward right now is not only money, but also they want to determine what are the other players that we're going to sign and which striker works best with the players that we're going to sign around him. And for me, this is a genius task, and this is a genius way of doing business. For example, if you signed a player like Benjamin Sesko, what do you understand about Sesko? He's a very quick player, and he's so good in the air. Because he's so good in the air, you might want to sign a winger, maybe on the left-hand side, that is very good at crossing in the ball. Maybe you don't go for Rodrigo, then maybe you go for someone like maybe Brian Buemo, maybe you go for someone like Mohamed Kudus. You don't go for a player who invites, you go for a player that actually crosses the ball a lot of the time, because that is the profile of the striker you're signing. And when you sign Victor Yarez, it is different. Yarez is not interested in your crosses. The guy doesn't score headers. The guy is like a headless chicken on the pitch. I don't mean that he's Messi. I mean, he literally doesn't score headers. So between these two, Arsenal have to make the right decision, right? And in order for us to make the right decision, we've got to ask ourselves a very important question. Are we going to sign a player on the left wing, or are we going to bring in other attackers around him that cross the ball a lot, which means that if that's going to happen, then you sign Benjamin Sesko? Or are we going to sign facilitators, chance creators that can survive and thrive around a player like Victor Yarez? Then you go and sign a player like Victor Yarez. So my thinking is that if Arsenal end up with a player like Rodrigo, we might see Rodrigo and Victor Yarez. If Arsenal end up with a winger, let's say someone like Paxiao or someone like Anthony Gordon, a winger that is traditional, their role is literally to get down the byline and cross the ball. They can enter the penalty area at times, but basically they want to enter. They don't want to enter the penalty area. They just want to cross the ball for the striker to head in. Then it could be Benjamin Sesko. Of course, another deciding factor here is the price. Arsenal, although we have a lot of money, it seems, we don't have infinite funds. We have to make sure that every deal is the right price in order to facilitate the other. For example, if you sign Benjamin Sesko for 90 million euros, that takes a lot of the budget. You might not be able to do the Eze deal, or you might not be able to do the Rodrigo deal, right? So for me, this one depends on two things: the center forward situation. And at the moment, as per time of recording, this is the striker people are saying is very likely to sign for Arsenal. Okay, 75 million euros or 70 million euros is what could be enough. And Arsenal have been informed about that. We are just waiting for the clarification on the structure and the total package. But for me, this is what I'm thinking. If I'm Arsenal, what do we really need with a center forward? Okay, what we need with a center forward is a guy that has a box presence and a guy that is clutch, can win you games in the 90th minute, can win you games in the 80th minute, can win you games in those games that are stale, those games that are dead. Yarez or Sesko, who does that? For me, it is Victor Yarez. And I know I might be a little bit biased because I do like Victor Yarez, but the reason as to why I like Yarez is about his numbers. I mean, I love one of the very, very interesting quotes someone made on Twitter. It's an Arsenal fan called Rory Talks Football. And he said, regardless of what you think about Victor Yarez, his rate of scoring goals is unprecedented, unimaginable, and devilish. That is what Arsenal need. I thought that is what we lacked last season, and the season before that. A devil in the penalty area. He is dangerous around the penalty area. Like, the way he strikes the ball, the way he finds himself space, the way he creates spaces for himself, he's a deadly number 9 around the penalty area. So for me, if you told me we have a guy that could be one of the best in the world in many years to come, and we have a guy that is good right now and is one of the best, he's just waiting for that seal of approval. He comes to the Premier League, he scores about 17 goals, and then maybe in all competitions about 25 goals to get that seal of approval. That is Victor Yarez, and that is who I would take. But who is good value for money? I mean, for Mikel Arteta, Benjamin Sesko is better value for money. And because Sesko is a tall player, and Mikel Arteta is building a team of giants, so therefore he's saying, why don't you give me the player I'm asking for? I'm not asking for Victor Yarez. I'm asking for Benjamin Sesko. And I would understand why Mikel Arteta thinks that this guy is better value for money. But in my opinion, it's Yarez. Yarez is the real deal, and it would be better, better value for money. But how much are we talking about for the center forward position? I think Arsenal are willing to spend about 65 to 70 million euros, right? One of the things as to why these deals are dragging on is Arsenal I want to make sure that they don't overpay in any deal. But I think 65 million euros can get you Yarez, and 65 to 75 million euros can get you Benjamin Sesko. So let's say Mikel Arteta wins and we sign Benjamin Sesko instead of Victor Yarez. Hooray! 70 million euros gone. What about the next 70 million euros, right? What about the rest of the budget? Who are Arsenal looking at in terms of the attack to spend the rest of the budget on? Well, introduce Eberechi Eze. Now, Eberechi Eze is one of the players that Arsenal have been really, really linked with. Sorry about that. Don't know why I popped up Martin Zubimendi. Eze is one of the players that have been linked with for quite some time, right? He's a player that has been on Arsenal's radar, I think, since 2023. And for some reason, whenever we were linked with Eze, we were linked with Olise. And I was like, do we want to sign Eze and Olise in the same window? Do we want both of them? This and that. But after Olise going to Bayern, Arsenal's priority have been set. They were maybe interested in Olise, but their real target at Crystal Palace was not McGahey, was not these other guys. It has always been Eberechi Eze. Now, Arsenal, I don't know whether it is new that Arsenal have just added an attacking midfielder, because David Ornstein says that it is unlikely to be revealed soon whether the arrival of Eberechi Eze needs a departure. And if it needs a departure, I think there would be two options. Vieira leaving on a permanent deal and Ethan Nwaniery leaving on loan. So, just like a centre forward, Eberechi Eze, or an attacking midfielder, has a very big specific role they would play at this Arsenal side, something that we don't have at the team. And you're probably asking, what is that? Creativity in this team is absolutely painful. Absolutely painful. I'm not going to say absent, because we create chances and we score goals, right? But we need an X factor in the team. And I think at Arsenal, apart from Saka, I can only say Declan Rice is the player that has displayed a bit of the X factor, right? Against Manchester United, came in with an equalizer. Of course, he bundled down Real Madrid those two free kicks, which are legendary. They will always go back to the history books, and we will always watch them. So Eberechi Eze is a player that comes into this Arsenal team, and his head is about how do we score. He's not a striker, but he's an orchestrator of goals. He literally, he specializes in creating goals. Martin Odegaard, however much I want to believe that Odegaard is being played in the wrong place, I also believe that Mikel Arteta knows the abilities of Martin Odegaard. Odegaard is not really that creative. Now, he is a very special player, and he does things that many people don't do. He might break your legs if you try to go against him. Ask Kovacic and ask Gundogan. But in terms of creativity, who would I take? Eberechi Eze or Odegaard? Definitely Eberechi Eze. And the reason for that is Eberechi Eze's game is more direct. He's a direct player. And Eberechi Eze is like Bruno Fernandes. They're always looking for that runner, and they're always looking for that shooting space and that shooting spot. Odegaard, on the other side, enjoys his football, spraying passes, give and take, all those very, very beautiful things on the eye, he enjoys. But Eberechi Eze solves a particular problem that Arsenal do not have, and that is a player in midfield who only cares about how do we score. He increases our creativity, improves our chance creation, and improves the quality of chances from our midfield. Now, the thing that Arsenal will get from Eberechi Eze is also is the ability to play through the middle of the park. If you've noticed, because Odegaard drifts right and Declan Rice drifts left, the middle of the park at Arsenal is basically useless in attack. Like, you can't go through Arsenal when you attack us through the middle, but we cannot go through anyone when we attack through the middle as well, right? So Eberechi Eze would do that. Kind of a number 10 that just says, fuck you, I am absolutely going to go through you, and there's nothing you're going to do about it. So this deal could cost about 60 million euros. Arsenal are willing to spend that much, but they would be hoping for 50 million, 55 million, or even less than 60 million pounds. And if we sign Shesko or Yarez for 70 and add 60 million for Eberechi Eze, that takes the spending to 130 million pounds, right? Let's go with pounds. 130 million pounds. There is a third player that Arsenal consider very crucial apart from Eberechi Eze, and that player is Rodrigo. Now, Rodrigo is a market opportunity. Not a market opportunity in terms of the price. There are two types of market opportunities. One, a player that no one expected to be made available, like the way Arsenal signed Ozil, Manchester United signed Di Maria. Like, Madrid just make market opportunities at a time when you don't expect them, right? And then the other market opportunity, obviously, is the price. Now, in terms of the price, Rodrigo is not a market opportunity. He will cost upwards of 77 million pounds, okay? So we have already spent 130 on Eze and a new center forward. The third signing is definitely Rodrigo. This one could drag on, but Arsenal don't care. They're saying, this is a dream signing. This is a perfect signing for us. If we can get this guy in, the team changes. If we can get this guy in, the team becomes better and absolutely, absolutely powerful. Now, Rodrigo also provides Arsenal with something unique that we don't have in the team, and that is a superstar. You know, people usually say Saka is Arsenal's superstar, and I'm like, you guys, do you know what a superstar is? Do you remember when Arsenal had Thierry Henry? That is what we call a superstar. The last time Arsenal had a superstar performer was Alexis Sanchez. That is the last time we had a superstar in the team. Alexis Sanchez. You know, players that believe the team runs around them. Players that do not care before the whistle goes, right? They are willing to change the game. Players that can create magic out of nothing. Players that, you know, have electricity, have current flowing through them. And for me, honestly, that is Rodrigo. So I like Saka, and I think Saka is a very, very good player. But Saka's superpower is effectiveness, right? And Mikel has been speaking about that word a lot. And I think when you think about Eze, and you think about Rodrigo, and you think about maybe Yarez or Šeško, that is one of the problems Mikel is trying to solve, effectiveness. So the superpower of Saka is effectiveness. But I don't think Saka is really a superstar. He's a very difficult player to go on to go against. But at times, you can shut him down. But a player like Rodrigo, until the whistle is done, until it's over, it's not over, right? So you bring this superstar status where he literally just raises that one signing that happens at the club and raises the level through the roof. For me, that would be Rodrigo. And Madrid is saying, if you can give us 77 million, we can give you this guy. And that takes the spending to 207 million. Potentially, Arsenal could do a fourth signing where we sign a right-wing backup in Noni Madueke. And that could be 40 million. And that could take the spending to 247 or 250 million. So I think the real theme of this summer is Arsenal trying to sign center forwards and wingers and attackers to bolster the offensive side of the team. And it's already happening. And I'm excited.